Hey, welcome to Roaming Minds. I'm Carlos.
I'm AJ, and here we talk about the thoughts that kept us out of all the really good schools. You know, those quiet spirals, the questions that keep you up at night, and the trials and tribulations that we all face as human beings.
This show is part reflection, part reminder. We're not broken, we're on a journey of growth. Please note that this conversation should not be taken as medical or professional advice. See the link in the description below if you require immediate help.
Every week, we unpack what it means to choose joy. Not the loud version that Karen is peddling, but the quiet, hard-earned kind that comes from finally feeling like yourself again.
Let's keep this conversation going. Join us on Discord or connect to a peer through Kindred. Let's get into it.
I want to start today with a couple of statistics. One in
Yes.
four young adults report struggling with mental health concerns. Okay. So that's, I looked it up between 18 and 24. So not between 18 and 25, like I was originally thinking about. There's 31 million people. So that one's a little bit higher. So we can say roughly 8 million currently at this moment in time, just in America. That's all we're thinking about. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
extending that anywhere at the moment. 8 million people are currently struggling with some sort of mental health concern. And in all reality, that number is probably much, much higher just because we're only talking about a specific subset today. We are only talking about people that range from 18 to 25. Um, they, another alarming thing, depression rates are up 50% in the past decade.
Yeah, if anything, increasing by 50%, that's typically, well, in context that it's been you, you're viewing it at a 50% increase in something that's bad is bad.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, well, so if they're whatever, okay, 8 million people struggling with some sort of mental health concern, let's take we'll be conservative and we'll say 25% of those are struggling from depression. Right? So that's what, 2 million people. Okay. 50% of that means that there have been a million more cases being reported
More.
over the past decade. That's a fuck ton of people and a fuck ton of cases. So yes, that's very, very concerning. One study that we looked at, 41% of young adults experiencing sleep problems. Okay. So that's, forget the 8 million, right? 41% of 31 is just shy of 15 million people. That's an insane amount. 35, roughly, I mean, 34.8, whatever, I'm calling 35% are reporting loneliness. Another 35 presenting financial concerns. 32% are reporting job stress. And 30% are citing social media burdens. That is a lot of people. That is not, it's not like, oh, somebody came by my office and told me that they were lonely today. That is a sign indicative of the times with which we are currently living in. And I do think it highlights a lot of really, really severe issues that we'll kind of get in. And but the thing that I find the most alarming is that if you go deeper and you start looking at mental health rates, again, among younger children, they shoot up even more than the young adults. It's signifying that it's not getting any better.
Better.
The hope maybe is that it will. But if the current trends keep going, it's not getting any better. Most people consider the youth mental health an actual crisis at this moment in time. And with some of those numbers that we were just discussing, there's no way it's not a major crisis. This brings up I have a lot of thoughts in my mind, I kind of think about what do the people look like, or who are the people that are actually struggling? Is this just the person that is sitting at home, afraid to go outside, and is suffering from something that is severely psychiatric? Probably not. You,
I
I
don't
mean,
believe so.
especially with numbers like this, you're looking at more people that are going about their daily lives, whatever that looks like, whether that be students that are under immense stress from school, whether it be whether it be blue collar workers that are
Yeah, young
just
people getting in the
working
yeah, just
those
starting off
jobs.
a
I don't know if you've
career
ever.
or from the career, trying to
Mm-hmm.
find the path you're on, going through several what's minimum wage jobs in order to find what it is that you want your life to be.
Mm-hmm. I've had the privilege to go and work with some kids at University of Maryland recently that are getting ready to graduate, and I can't tell you. This is my second time doing it, and the first time I did it, kids were curious, but this year, you could feel their anxiety in well, what's going to
Mm.
happen with us? Where are we going to end up? And I don't have any good answers for them. I am a byproduct of um coming out of grad school and not being able to find the work that I was looking for. Talking with them about those kinds of things, it's challenging because I'm sitting there like, dude, I'm in the exact same fucking situation you guys are in. And I had to come out and kind of be like, well, this is what I think is going to happen, and this is what you can kind of do in the meantime, because really all it's going to boil down to is this is what you can do in the meantime. There's no quick fix that I have come to
Yeah,
find for any of these things,
but yeah,
because really what everybody currently is concerned about is state of the world. Rightfully so. We
just
are
from
currently
what we've
experiencing.
heard, this what I was gonna say, from what a lot of this from like the research is showing is this increase in number of people who are experiencing depression or other mental disorders is from the state of the world. It's the way the our world is currently shaped. It's not that necessarily there's 'cause, maybe there is a small, obviously there is going to be a portion of that that is going to be from the anatomy of something is generally wrong and therefore you are therefore having these things. But I think the bigger problem is it's what's going on in the world. The cost of living is out the roof. So obviously, if you've gone into somewhere between $20 to $100,000 in debt for an education, the can't find a job. There's going to be this increase in anxiety or depression because you know you want to be able to feed yourself after you graduate. You want to be able to buy a house. You have things you want to achieve, and just the state of the world is just in a rough place where it's not going to allow you or make it easier for you to achieve those goals. So you have to make more sacrifices that you initially maybe didn't even think of when you started trying to achieve set goals. And plus, the you know the the social of it all in America with what's going on generally. That's not a political podcast, and I'm not saying which side either of us belong, but just the state of the world. The political divide is also very tough and very anxiety inducing on people because you have people between family members consistently fighting, saying, I'm right, you're dumb. All of this is
Mhm.
not helping either as well.
No, you're spot on. And I've been talking to a lot of therapists recently, both just for insights and for my own well-being. And almost every single one of them brings up the current state of the world. There's no way around it. The times with which we are currently experiencing are hectic and tumultuous. And we do not we have, well, let me rephrase that. Historically, we have not promoted a healthy means of interacting with that. Before the episode, we were talking about all the research from the week. And
Yeah.
when you look at that table for the prediction error and how our emotions shape us, right now, everything is so constantly in flux that there's almost no way to predict what is going on. So you mentioned you want to be able to buy groceries. You want to be able to afford a house. You want to be able to do these things. These are predictions set forth that this is kind of what we want our lives to look at. And knowing that interest rates are through the roof, knowing that the cost of everything is just astronomically insane right now, and knowing that there's no guarantee that they're going to come out with a job can you blame anybody for having sleep problems? It brings us, and I really liked this question when I came about it, is what is the cost of living in constant reaction mode? Because that's effectively what we're doing. We are constantly having to react because these are I don't know about unprecedented times. We've been in tumultuous times before, but not this generation, not these
Yeah.
generation. My
Yes.
parents are.
And I think what's it called? I was gonna say I usually joke with my friends that I am tired of living through history. And it's that
Mhm.
thing of now with the advent of the internet and social media, you are more hyper aware of every single thing that's going on. Like you are just being constantly bombarded by every minute this thing is happening in the world. Well, yes, but like in the late 60s with Vietnam, yes, they showcased what was going on in Vietnam, but like, they weren't showing case what was happening in Africa. There weren't people, some, you're not gonna say everybody, but larger society was not aware of going on in other countries. Yes, you were aware of maybe with the Vietnam thing because that was televised, and people were like, "That's bad." And then the civil rights movement, that's when people protested, obviously. But now you have those movements that are still happening, the anti-war movement, the civil rights movement. But then also have people are now aware of things that are going 5,000 miles ahead because they might have a friend or somebody or some connection to that place, and now they're somewhat emotionally what's it called involved in the plight of whatever people they want to support. And
Right. And
and
so,
when we're talking about, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 no. Please go for it. I'll get there.
No, I was gonna say when we were talking about emotional regulation, right? I was gonna say one of the key structures in the brain that does emotional regulation is your amygdala. And if you are constantly having to do that, and research has shown that the amygdala plays a very significant role in depression. So you can clearly see that correlation of that emotional regulation center being just constantly being flux. It's going to, it's going to make it tired. It's going to start shaping and start acting different, and therefore it's going to start having physiological effects on you, which can, start with the symptoms of the depression.
Mm-hmm. You're 100% right there. The one thing that I was thinking about when you were talking I mean, even just about Vietnam, yeah, they televised it, but they also realized in that moment that it was bad to televise it. They were like, no, we're not doing this again. So nowadays, you you have access to everything. A lot of companies right now are like, well, we're not moderating content. And you're like, or maybe they've got to be monitoring it to some extent, but they're loosening restrictions, and that's right. Yikes. I love the fact that you brought up the amygdala, because when we enter that flight mode, it's not that bad things happen. We need that flight mode. It's something that has preserved
It is a
humanity throughout the
survival
ages.
instinct. It's like it's one of the basic instinct that you either fight or flight. It
Hmm.
serves a purpose, but when it's constantly every single day just being, for the lack of better, attacked or being over processed, it's going to
Hmm.
lead to changes that are not going to be desirable.
Right. If you think about, I don't know, a few thousand years ago, if I was in immediate danger, the amygdala lights the fuck up, and I'm booking my happy ass out of there to try and find a solution to whatever the problem is that is going on. Once I find the solution, then I should, theoretically, right, calm down. The problem is that we have so much incoming information that we can't predict what's going to happen. We have no idea how other people are going to behave. And so, without having an idea of how those predictions are going to land, is it really any wonder that we stay in that flight mode? It is very, very difficult. And it becomes even more difficult when we have distractions at our fingertips. I can pick up the phone and I can work from my phone now. I can watch TV from my phone now. I can do anything. I can get any distraction that I want in 30 seconds or less that will not hijack the amygdala, but it will force other responses from my brain in the form of cheap dopamine hits. Not only do we have the choice between cheap dopamine hits and fear, which obviously, why would one want to choose to live in fear? But it's not like we are fully. Number one, it's hard to fully prepare people for these kinds of instances, but we're not really trying super hard to make sure that they're prepared for those instances. We're trying to make everything around them as predictable as humanly possible, because that's what current science really is. If you look at a lot of child development and things like that, it's like, we'll make them comfortable. That's the goal, is comfort, because that reduces that I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It just helps their
Stress,
brain to grow and develop the way that it needs to. But what happens when that's been the whole goal, is to give you guys safety and to give you guys security, and then at 21, 22 years old, we just rip the rug out from under you and say, figure it out. That's crazy. Especially at 21, your brain is not fully developed. It's not. So if that's the case, and we have these distractions, what incentive is there for me or for anybody to go out and figure out what needs to be done, uh, or try and find some alternative solution to their problems that they're currently facing? Because there are solutions, there are 100% solutions. It's just a matter of going out and being willing to do the work to go and find them. And I'm sure it's like a subset of that is going to be the case, but especially mental health. Mental health is hard enough as it is. Getting help from
yeah,
mental health is not always the easiest thing in the world. And so I mean, dude, that's literally what the past month, if I could sum up the past month in any way, shape, or form, it was what I just did there. That's what the past month has been. October has been one of the most insane months of my life. Okay. And I've got a few more years than 18 to 24. Crazy. Oh my God. I literally started meditating. Not because I wanted to, but because I was forced to. Because there's no other solution.
See, and I'll say bring up that brings up a great point because look, the word ain't gonna get easier or nicer. It gets crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. So, what is the solution? Do you think parents should basically be like other wild animal, just like throw that baby out into the world and be like, have fun, survive, instead of I'm slightly being facetious with how I'm asking the question, but what do we do to help that it doesn't get to this point? Because once it gets to this point, then I think it's too late. Then obviously, then you're trying to find treatment plans. But how do you how do we prevent, at least help those numbers go down? What do we? Because I was gonna say, what are we as society gonna do? But I don't think society can do much because it's gonna require a collective of people, and a collective of people having. I'll let a small collective of people can do a lot, but a great talking about a million plus collective of people, it just ain't going to happen.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at is a couple of different possibilities. Number one, the crisis just continues to get worse. And unfortunately, due to the nature of the issue and that it spans generations, it's not going to get worse or bad enough, whatever that line in the sand is, for another generation or two, right? It's not going to be until my kid grows up, right? Before collectively we look at it and we say, oh, this is no longer acceptable. We need major overhauls of our system in order to be able to go ahead and address this. And I do think we need major overhauls in system. I'm not going to tell you that that's the only way, though. So the other options is that and this is at least my philosophy with my kid, is giving him a space that he gets to experiment in. And if he experiments in that space and fails in his independence, that is okay, because I'm still here to help and guide in that moment. I can come in with an intervention and say, oh, buddy, I get it. And let's go ahead and try and figure out what framework will be able to get you through that that situation. There we go. The next time. And that's what I've tried to do for the most part. I think that that's probably one of the most effective ways too, short of, again, major system overhaul. I think the other thing that's going to happen, we're seeing it happen all throughout research, as Eastern philosophies converge with Western philosophies. Naturally, new systems are going to arise and take shape, and I think that those are going to be super beneficial. More information, again, that's coming down the pipeline, but it's going to provide some of those insights to the information that we've struggled to rectify over the past 30 years, trying to figure out, we have all of this information, but what are we missing? Because it's not all of this information. We have tons of information on productivity and how to do better, but we don't have, especially in the West, we don't have that same level of information for how to be and how to be human and how to engage with the world around us in a more humanistic manner. We know how to engage with technology, but that's part of the problem is the West, we solely focus out here, and the East, we tend to look inside more. And so as those converge more, I hopefully it's going to balance out. But again, this is generations. This isn't something that's just going to happen tomorrow. As more and more people get that information and they teach their children, these systems will naturally have to arise because of the information with which children are being given. I mean, I sitting there and listening to kids talk about the vibes that somebody's giving off is the craziest thing in the world, because we had no, dude, when I was in middle school, we didn't have any concept of vibes. That wasn't even, we didn't even have a word for that shit. Nowhere near it. But this 11-year-old or 12-year-old understands something that I didn't even get to until, I don't know, early 30s, something like that. I don't know if that's accurate. Maybe that's not true. But I think it has to kind of shift a little bit. But again,
Yeah.
the technology gets to be a barrier in that because it hijacks everything and forces us to go external. And please don't, I'm not saying that technology is a bad thing. Our current implementation of technology has highlighted a lot of issues that we have been carrying around as human beings for
Okay.
thousands of years. Now we are in the unique situation to be able to do something about them. And I think that that is more of where the solution lies. I think that kids should be, well, let me rephrase this. I was about to get real extreme real quick. I think that they should be taught to meditate. They need to be taught how to breathe. I notice it with my kid a lot. Very shallow breathing. Well, of course he's going to have some anxiety. His breaths are coming super quick. So I have to teach him. You got to slow down, calm your body down. But it's almost like we don't know that we're in control of our bodies a lot of the time. And that is a disservice to the younger generations because they're like, well, it's his fault that I did this. No, it's not, because you were the only person that controls this or this. Or we have control over our bodies.
Now, I was going to say, you can be overcome with emotion, and that's just technically you're not in control of that. But when you're overcome with that emotion, what you do with it and how you react, you are responsible for. So if you are fighting with somebody and somebody says something and you just get a gush of anger over you, that's a normal reaction. You can't really control that, anger, but you can control how you, oh, you going to
No, no,
disagree.
please
So,
finish. I'm excited for this. Please finish your
but you
thought.
can control how you behave within that moment. So whether you go and smack that person and that person smacks you back, you have control over that. Whether you go, you know what, I know better. I'm going to walk away from you. I'm going to do something else, or I'm going to find other tactics of
Mhm,
dealing with that situation. You
mhm.
have control over that. Go ahead. I'm
That you
intrigued.
definitely do. And I will 100% agree with that. But I am going to push back on we have no control over whether or not we get angry. Okay. And this is going to sound, maybe it's not. Who the fuck knows? If we can get our breath under control, it's amazing the lack of reaction that we can have to events that used to fucking just piss people off beyond belief. If I'm sitting there, let's say I've been doing 4-7-8 breathing. You know what that is? The in for 4, hold 7, and
Sure.
then out for 8 for I don't know, the past 2 months, I sit down regularly. I pay attention to it. I pay attention to what's going on inside of my body. My body overall is just calmer. And so
Hmm.
when somebody walks up and they're like, hey, bitch, your fucking titties look whack. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you just walk on with your normal day. But if I'm not doing that, and maybe there's some sort of tension that I'm carrying inside of my body somewhere, maybe I've got some tightness in my chest due to shortness of breath. I'm not getting enough to expand. And so everything's kind of contracting and closing in. And somebody walks up and they're like, hey, bitch, your titties look whack as fuck. And I'm going to be like, fuck you, you goddamn motherfucker. Get the fuck. Am I not in control of my emotion at that point?
I mean, I see your point. I see the point you're making, but I disagree because yes, doing the breathing exercise, being calmer, and all of that is nice. But with the first scenario, when somebody said something to you, it's not that you didn't get angry, you just
No, I didn't.
move.
But I didn't get angry because it didn't even register that it was a problem. You're just like, oh, well, that was some
But see,
stupid.
but had you registered as a problem, even if you were doing that,
Mm-hmm.
you can still be like, move past it. So I think it's when you recognize something as a problem, because if you're not recognizing as a
Who
problem,
recognizes it as a problem?
you have to.
How? How would you recognize that as a problem?
Well, based on your immediate reaction,
But you said it earlier. How would you recognize that it's a problem? What'd you say
I guess
earlier?
you will have to make the determination that it is a problem.
Which part, though? What part of the brain is going to recognize that as a problem?
Oh, the amygdala.
Right. What does breathing and meditation do?
What's it called? Resets those processes, slows it down. I see your point, but I still disagree. Like, it's,
That's fine.
I
I get it.
see
I
it,
I mean I
but I disagree.
mhm. I do. And I understand that it's not a common number one, it's not going to be a common way of viewing that as a solution. Number two, it's a very complex. I will tell you, I have been meditating and doing breath work on and off for I don't know, almost 20 years. Okay. And the first 5 years I did, I was all over the place. Whatever. Maybe the first 10 is like, this is a bunch of bullshit. This doesn't do a fucking thing. Why am I wasting my time? Uh, and I will tell you that more recently, without it, I don't know what I would have done. I wouldn't have been able to get through this past month because I'm telling you, like I am in full agreement with you that the times that are going on at this current moment are batty and they do not make any sense whatsoever. And so trying to rectify those from the past month has been incredibly difficult. And the only thing, and I mean the only thing that has helped is getting to know what is going on inside of here, right? Understanding that, like, okay, my amygdala gets hijacked. It's sending all these signals through my spinal cord to be like, just tense up and don't worry about it. And when you're constantly like that, and when you're constantly walking around like that, explosions happen easier, right? Mental health problems just deteriorate significantly, right? But I don't, I can go ahead and get inside of myself to go ahead and calm myself down in order to make those things work, right? And
Yeah.
some of this can also be exacerbated by the amount of time that we are spending with other people and the amount of genuine connection that we are experiencing with those other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the people that I'm associated with are, I mean, I'm trying to figure out where I want to start with this. If the people that I'm associated with are suffering from the same things that I'm struggling with, right? I really don't,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be hard to connect with them in that way. I mean, we may be able to like connect around some sort of shared misery, right? But if they're experiencing physiological issues, I'm going to begin experiencing physiological issues just because we have those mirror neurons, right, that see what's going on inside of other people, right? And so what we do definitely need are more people that are able to go ahead and do what I just described of calming down rather than just that instantaneous reaction, right? Because then you have an avenue, right, to kind of go and talk to somebody and be like, hey, how do I navigate this? Because nobody's telling me, nobody has anything. And it's very hard to figure out by yourself. It takes significantly more time, right? This is why mentorship is a thing. If we have a mentor, we can get there much quicker. If we don't, it's just going to take us longer. And so being more isolated, especially since COVID times, none of these things are going to help with our mental well-being, right? We
Mm-hmm.
need that connection, right? Um, and so these are my kind of like, I mean, you talked about path back, right? Or, how do we kind of fix this through here? And I think it is a big understanding of like, it's all us. All of it is all us. And if we can fix inside of here, and I mean from toe to fucking head, right? Then we can navigate anything that's going on. I'm not telling you it's easy. I'm not telling you that like just because you did a lot of internal work, like externally everything's going to go to being fine. It's not. But you're not going to make it worse by responding in ways that aren't helping. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
By avoiding certain behaviors, by ignoring that these things are happening, that's just not how that works, right? And so you have to kind of take that back. It's not about that, like, that, we've talked about toxic positivity before. It's not about that. It's just about recognizing it. It's about taking it and saying, all right, this is what's going on with me, and I'm going to go ahead and fix it. And what's the best way to do that? Well, it's to fucking sit with you,
But
connect with you and find out about you. And whatever way that looks like for you. You know what I mean? At the moment, for me, it's meditating fucking shitload. No point in time did I ever tell anybody like, oh yeah, I could totally see myself meditating for an hour a day. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Because I thought it was horse shit when I was younger. I couldn't do it. I was like, why the fuck do people just sit for fucking 10 minutes? This is crazy. 10, 20, 30, 40. What? I can barely sit for 2. So, like, it doesn't have to be all at once, right? It just, you take
yeah.
it little bits and pieces at a time. You start with those little micro habits, right? And I guarantee you, it'll get better. It's not going to get, it's not going to solve the problems. Do you know what I mean? It'll bring you to some new ones, right?
Yeah.
But we have to start somewhere.
Similar.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. But before we go wrap up, I was thinking of, because I was thinking at the beginning how we talked about, these are self-reporting number. How, because there is a problem where clinical symptoms of depression and other disorders have been, they're out there and people are, how do I say diagnosing, but like refer to themselves as being in a depressive state when clinically, technically speaking, they may not be. So how do we also go about addressing that where, just because of how you like how you feel and maybe you have some symptoms, maybe it's not necessary that you are having depression, if what I'm saying makes sense. But maybe you are. It could just be like, because for something to be depression, I think I'm forgetting the exact criteria, but I think it needs to be 3 or more months longer. If you were just like, for example, last week I had a hectic week. If anybody had talked to me, I would have said that I am technically, depressed because I had a lot of stuff going on. So, but now I'm in a slightly better mood now because all the big, specifically, I had 3 exams last week. So those were very stressful trying to study back to back between all that and then having regular classes on top of that. So
Mhm.
obviously it was stressful. You feel the weight of the world. All of that happened. But now it's not, now that's past. So and I don't want to say I'm better. I am back to where I usually am steady, but last week was obviously worse for me. But how do we also educate people in order to not be quick to make grandiose diagnosis? Because then you then pigeonhole yourself into this thing, and then you also are not actively looking for things to confirm your own biases. And once you do, then you go, yes, I have this.
I and so I mean, you definitely brought up interesting things, but I think that the answer remains the same ultimately. Your understanding of yourself is what is driving that. So if you get, I mean, especially in that situation, if you get professional help, typically professional help can resolve that relatively quickly. If they know what they're doing, it should be pretty easy because it just involves a little bit of reframing, and CBT will knock that out in a few months. You'll be okay. However, so when you mention that, I also think about the flip side of all the people that aren't actually reporting what's going
Oh,
on.
yes.
And so I think that the answer again still becomes the same. If we reflect and if we know ourselves, then we at least we give ourselves the chance and we give ourselves the opportunity. Without that, we don't we don't even have a chance. We don't even get to go on the field and play the game. We are saying we're done, we're not taking it, we're not going to do it. It's all right. I don't want to take the shot. I want somebody else to take it for me. And it doesn't work that way.
Oh,
Sure,
no.
there are certain circumstances where somebody gets to come in and take the shot for you and do whatever. I'm not. I understand my sports analogy is rough, but overall, we have to step out on the field. We have to go play the game. We have to go have those experiences, and by putting us in a bubble and not going out for those experiences, it's not going to help us get to where we need to be. And that's why I say the best thing to start with is professional help and reflection. Because the more responsibility that we can take, the better that we can get, and the more centered, grounded that we can become. And then we can build those communities, and the positivity can begin to flow from one to the next. However, again, if I am a massive ball of anxiety, the only thing that I am promoting is massive balls of anxiety floating to
Mhm.
you and floating to other people. That's what we need to be concerned about and careful with, because what we are putting out there ultimately is what ends up coming straight back to us. So, reflection, peace, calm, tranquility, trying to get to that state in spite of this, because this doesn't matter. Ultimately, it makes no difference if it matters if there's a massive fire going on in my neighbor's backyard and I have to get away from the fire in order to save myself. However, if I'm in a state of panic, I'm going to see the state of fire and I'm going to freak out and be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? That just it doesn't serve any purpose. But if I'm calm, I'm like, oh, well, it's a fire. Let me go step outside and go call the fire department so that they can
Right.
come take care of it. And so that's why I say we have to be in a place where we are open, where we are receptive to all of those things in order for anything to be able to occur. I don't know. It all starts with awareness.
Right.
ultimately.
Oh, well, I think that's the point we've always kind of drilled here is it ends and it starts with you. And at the end of the day, if you are not aware or willing to put the work in, it just ain't going to work. And you also, and it's that thing of understanding who you are and knowing what you're, and that thing that to my example earlier that I was talking about, obviously, as I've done the work, most of the work, not all the work, because I'm a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
But I obviously recognize that I have a high anxiety filled week. So therefore, some of these things that I'm feeling, while not necessarily out of normal, but like then being more heightened,
Mm-hmm.
makes sense because obviously all this stuff going on around me. But now, if that persists, then I may have to start doing more work and be like, why is it persisting? What's going on? And then if I need to, I have the resources to then go ahead and get the help from the people that I need to contact who will provide what I need. And if they deem me to need something else, they'll refer me out and I'll, follow that plan.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Carlos and I greatly appreciate it. Comment something that resonated with you today. We are here for support, feedback, or anything else that you want to share. Join us on the Kindred app, a perfect space to keep unpacking what came up during the episode. Get live, peer-to-peer support from people with shared experiences. Kindred is built for those moments that no one else sees.
Take this one step deeper by reviewing today's reflection prompt in the show notes. Please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and tune in next week for a new episode. Until next time, choose joy.